What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is David Hanlon, aka the Laptop Legend, and I'm here to teach you everything about stocks, e-commerce, and pretty much any way of making money online. If you're watching this video, you probably have heard of the stock TSNP, and this stock is probably one of the most entertaining ones I've found in a very long time because it has gone on a historic run of over 50,000%. I haven't calculated the exact percentage recently, but I know it's above 50,000%, and there's a lot of people who are just all aboard the hype train on this stock. And if you're watching this video, you might be one of them. And I'm making this video to provide a little bit of perspective for you guys. There's also a lot of naysayers on this stock who say it's a pump and dump and it's going to come crashing down. And I think there is a fine balance between believing in the future of a stock, but also having enough skepticism to maximize your profits and make sure you safeguard those incredible earnings that this stock has probably given you if you've been trading it correctly. So I'm going to talk about my strategy and exactly what I've been doing. If you've watched some of my previous videos on TSNP, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But again, it did the exact same thing today that I predicted in the video, the last video that I made. It had a big morning panic and then it had a huge bounce. I bought right at the bottom. I didn't even get in with good size, and I made like $900 something in, I think, less than 30 minutes. And again, I was very conservative on this trade, and now it's back down well below where I sold it at the top of that move. And again, I believe long-term in the prospects of this stock, but it's one of those stocks that drops 40% in the matter of days. And if you're holding your position, even from way down here, and it's gone up to here, and you know it's probably gonna drop, it makes sense to take some profits and then rebuy back down here, because then you're just maximizing your overall gains. And I know there are some tax implications of this, so if you're doing this outside of a Roth IRA, I'm doing it inside a Roth IRA, so it makes no difference for me. But if you're doing it outside, you definitely want to do the research on that first. But I think there's no amount of tax benefits that can outweigh holding through a 40% drop. But that's just me personally. So there is the investor call tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm gonna be making a video on that. You had to have registered. I think it was by Monday at 5 p.m. So a lot of you guys might not have gotten in and registered for that. So if you missed registering for that, definitely look for my video, because I'm going to be posting one tonight on what the investor call talked about and the biggest takeaways from there. So definitely be looking for that. But yeah, let me go in and I guess explain a little bit more about what I'm talking about with this stock. All right, guys. So here we have the daily chart for TSNP, and you can see that there was a pretty decent panic this morning. It was already down a little bit, and then it just had a pretty good panic. Went all the way down to, I think it bottomed around 23 cents. And this is, if you take into consideration the overall charts, this is down significantly from where it was. So I sold right about here, because if you look at the 1 month chart, yeah, this is daily. So you can see, let me do year just so it's a little better. Yeah, so you can see here that the stock, it went up a ton, it had gap ups, and then it came crashing back down a little bit, 2 red days. You can see the stock again went back up, pushed higher than the previous highs, but then came back down a little bit, because a stock can't just go straight up forever. It doesn't happen. And that's just human psychology. There's people who want to take profits. Shorts are trying to find the top. And because of that, when you have a ton of green days in a row, you're eventually going to get a pretty big drop. And when it spiked up this high, it gapped up super big and closed near its highs. I figured it would have a morning panic the next day, and that's when I made my video 2 days ago, and I told you guys to expect some type of morning panic. And that's what we got. It was a big morning panic there. I actually didn't get filled on this. I tried to dip buy it there, and that would have been a pretty decent trade, but I ended up not getting filled just because of what I told you guys about previously, where if you have a stock like this that's an OTC stock and there's a lot of volume and it's bouncing really quickly, you might have a market order. Well, I guess they make me do a limit order, but you might have an order that is placed at a price above the current price. So it might be trading at, call it, 26 cents. And you're like, I'll buy it for anything below 29 cents. And you might have that order live on the market for 30 seconds and not get executed. And then suddenly the price is above that, which is really, really frustrating. So you have to make sure that you time it well and get your order in enough in advance that you can actually get executed. And I explained that in my last video, yet I still suffered from this. So I missed out on this dip. But I figured this really wasn't a big enough drop that it was going to bounce, just because looking at it, if you look at the 1 year chart, this red day went back down and pretty much bounced off the top of the previous green candle. And if you see here, that's pretty similar to what happened on this day. So I figured it had a little bit more to drop, at least down to like the 22s, 23s. And I think that was a pretty safe bet. And I think going forward, it's going to be very interesting to watch this stock and see what it does. But I'm just, I'm looking forward to this investor call. I'm really excited to see what the future of this company is going to bring. I think it's going to be really big. And if you're one of those people who is super hyped about this stock, don't get offended by the fact that, there's people who are willing to sell the stock and then get back in. Like, use common sense here. If you know a stock is likely to drop 20, 40%, why would you want to keep holding that stock when you could get back in at a lower price, ignoring the taxes here? So again, for me, it's just common sense that you don't want to keep holding a stock if you know it's very likely to go down, because you can get back in at a lower price, have more shares for the same amount of money, and then ride that higher. So to me, that makes more sense. If you're one of those people who believes long-term in the future of this company, I think it's a pretty safe bet, honestly. But for me, it doesn't make sense when you know what it's going to do. So again, don't get offended if you're one of those people who's hyped about this stock. I'm definitely hyped about it too. I just think it helps to have some perspective and make sure that you're making the best decisions based on the money that you have available. And today, I actually was able to screen record myself with this live trade right before I took the dip buy on how I made the $915 today in less than 30 minutes. So I want to play that for you guys now, just so you guys can see, kind of what my thought process was on the trade, and I'll walk you through it a little bit so you can see the live price action and you can see the shares printing here. So I'm going to go into that now. All right, guys, so here I have the live video. Unfortunately, I didn't start it right when the panic was happening, so you miss out on seeing all those red prints, but right now it's like right kind of at the bottom. And you can see that I have 25,000 shares that I'm, I guess, ready to pull the trigger on to buy. And I'm waiting. I'm seeing if 23 is the bottom, because that's right, right around where the tip of that green candle was on that day, if you remember. So 23, 22, that would be a good area to buy based on the daily chart for this. And you can see here, like, it's struggling around 23. It's trying to go up, but there's still some prints there, and I'm just not sure if this is going to be the bottom, because if it breaks it, it could easily go down. So I'm like, not sure. I'm thinking it looks good, but then it breaks under 23. So I'm like, uh-oh, not sure here. But it's still not breaking down at this point. So even though it went under 23 and then it upticks, you see the first uptick above 23, and I'm in. I pull the trigger, and you can see how fast this moves up. And in this case, I only got executed, 7,100 in the beginning out of whatever. And I had my order for 25, and I pulled it when it was, at 23s. So I almost cancel here, but I end up getting fully filled before I cancel, just because I wasn't sure if I'd gotten in the dip buy in time. And it's a little bit red here. I'm not sure what it's gonna do. I'm willing to cut it if it goes under my entry point of 24.5, because that would be like a failed bounce, and that would mean that it could probably continue to go down lower. So at this point, I'm waiting to see what it does. Waiting to see. Always get ready to sell as soon as you get in your trade, to make sure that, even 1 second could be the difference for a lot of money when you're trading in a stock that moves as fast as this, when it's this difficult to get executed. So at this point, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. And let me make this playback a little bit faster. So at this point, it starts going up. We get the bounce I was looking for, starts bouncing. And in this case, the bounce actually initially was not as dramatic as I expected, so that's why I ended up selling 10,000 shares, I think somewhere in here. So I had 25,000 total, and then you'll see I end up selling 10,000 of them, just to lock in profits a little bit, because if it ends up tanking and it ends up failing, I would rather have sold 10,000 up here, and then I can get out the rest, around where I entered, and then I'll still be profitable on the trade, because there's no worse feeling than being up on a trade and then ending up losing on that trade. So for me, I would rather sell too soon than hold my entire position trying to maximize my gains and then have it come back down to below where I entered, and I'm completely negative on the stock. So in this case, not sure, showed some signs of weakness there, a lot of sellers, but it seems to be holding up pretty well. If 25 holds, it's a good sign. Don't know if you guys can hear my computer. It sounds like a jet engine taking off. These Macs, man, I don't know what the issue is with them. So it's still kind of choppy in here. This is not the insanely clean bounce. So I was on the edge of pulling the trigger here, just getting out, calling it quits. taking some safe profits. But then you see that big 270,000 buyer come in there, which is, again, that's a good sign. If there's people willing to buy that much, it's generally a sign that the stock is going to continue to go up. We have another 100,000 shares print. Still a little bit choppy, but overall, I would say it looks decent. That's a big seller. Oh shoot, I don't want that. I was trying to scroll down, but I realized this is a screen recording. Massive buyer there, that's a really good sign. And then the stock upticks again. So that was a confirmation for me that it was probably a good idea to continue to stay long at that point. Another 200,000 share buyer. 200,000 share buyer. Printing all green at this point, massive buyers coming in. Looks pretty decent. And we don't know how high this is gonna go. Generally red to green, which is where a stock goes from negative on the day to positive on the day, is a very good sign, but a lot of times short sellers will try to sell short at that price line just before it happens, because if it doesn't happen, then a lot of people will just sell their shares because they're like, oh, it's not gonna go red-green. So that's normally a price point that is fought heavily over. So if you're looking to take some profits, that's generally a place that it's good to do it, because again, the stock is down on the day. Here I'm checking out what the, I think the high on that was, maybe the low. Still going up, you can see I'm still long all my 25,000 shares. Now we're hitting 26. See it printing 26. There's a big hidden seller here, you can see. It says just 25,000 shares, but obviously it's not breaking, which means there's a big seller who's trying to hide their size because they're trying to get in big without people realizing. Now we have 280,000 seller pop up there and it instantly downticked. But I think it's still fighting over it. Looks like a little bit of weakness here. Couldn't break through 26, but now it's still trying to go. You see the 300,000 share seller there, but it's not even making a dent. All these buys, we had a 300,000 buyer, didn't make a dent because there's a big seller. Finally was able to break through though, which is a really good sign for continuing to go long. You see I almost sold there, but I ended up not. Still going, just let it ride. Hopefully my thought process on this is helpful for you guys, looking at the size of the buys. And this is without even having level 2. If you have level 2, it's definitely easier to read. Fidelity just doesn't have level 2 for this particular stock. I'm not sure if it's all OTCs it doesn't have it for, or just this one, depending on where it is, but continuing on up. But now we're starting to see some bigger sellers here. In the hundreds of thousands of shares. Oof, a 26, 100,000. So at this point, I think I decided to sell 10,000 of my shares. Just because I want to lock in those profits. It's looking a little choppy. Could definitely go down. So I just want to make sure I lock that in. And you can see at the bottom here, I think I got that order confirmed. Filled at 26. Just want to be sure, because if it drops under 26, it's likely to go pretty far unless some big buyers step in. If the bounce failed and it doesn't even get above where it opened, that's generally a bad sign. So because of that, I was being very conservative on this, wanted to make sure that I maximize my gains, because that's always a safe thing to do. You see some massive sellers here trying to take it out. Just a ton of red prints, 100,000 share seller. You can see the buyers getting chopped away. Some stepping in. Definitely a point of contention there. Oh, a lot of big sellers. Typically that's a sign it's going to break under, and there it goes. So down ticks, and suddenly the next highest seller is at 0.259. So at this point I'm thinking, how long do I want to hold my remaining 15,000 shares if this keeps dropping? And I probably would have cut, I think, around 25, because I wanted to give this a little bit more time. If it makes a lower low, that's a very bad sign. See some big sellers here. But yeah, at this point it's still going down. I'm thinking, should I sell? Should I sell my remaining shares, or should I keep them? I don't want to see these profits slip away. Nothing more frustrating than being up big on a trade and ending up having it being a losing trade. So again, you can see my thought process here. I have everything, the order filled out. I guess I need to put that in still, but I have the order filled out. I'm ready to place it if I need to. But we're seeing some green prints here, which is giving me some hope. So, and there we go. We see 26, upticks back to 26. Big buyers come in. We break through 26, and suddenly there's going to be a wall of buyers at 26 now. So that's a very good sign. I'm looking to see what the high on this is right here, because if it breaks above this high, then it's making a new high, which is a very good sign that I should stay long. If it fails and then goes back down, I would cut at the bottom of this. But you see we're able to uptick here. Tons of big buyers coming in, 200,000 shares buyers. Just continuing on up. Have some sellers, but the buyers are able to eat that up, thankfully. Mostly printing green still overall. Keep making higher upticks. 2.65, 6.8, 6.75, and then 6.8. Still going 8.1. Still upticking. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, if we can get it to red-green, then that's going to be a good sign, and I'll see what it does there. If it shows weakness, I'll probably sell more of my shares. If it breaks through, then it's likely to continue running, which ended up being the case. We had a huge 200,000 share buyer right there. Suddenly it's at 0.27. Broke through that with ease, and now there's going to be big buyers at 0.27. And each one of these could be, a psychological level that you would cut at. If it shows signs of weakness, it starts printing a bunch on the red side on 0.27. That means it's likely to break through that and then go back down. So you might want to sell while you still have the opportunity to get out at 0.27. But in this case, it just keeps going up. Keeps riding on up. 2746, 275. And these are 1 minute candles, so 275, 275, 2758. 276 is on the red side now, 277. Still going on up, 2789, 279. I'm thinking, where's it gonna crack out here? And in here you can see I go, this is my Roth IRA again, so I started with, I think it was like, I had a bad portfolio overall, and I started actively trading it back in, I think it was, April or something like that, after it started rebounding, the market was crashed. So I had like 5,000 in the account back then. You can see it's still going up. You can see it hit red-green on the day finally, which is crazy. So now it's back up. That's a very good sign if you're long on this, which means a lot of people are gonna be coming in. So I'm getting ready to potentially sell. I'm not sure at what point, but I'm ready for it. You can see, again, it's still like all green prints on this. So a lot of strength in this stock. Not really any sign that I should be selling at this point. See some sellers come in. I want to take some profit off the table just because, I hate. There we go, yeah, so I took some off. You see I got filled at 0.2887. Continues on up, broke through 29 with ease. So the reason I sold those is because when you're up this big, there's going to be some red candles, especially when you have this many green candles in a row. You just don't know when it's going to be, and it could be a very big and quick crack. So I would rather sell some of my shares on the way up and have less size and be able to hold through some of that volatility and at least make sure that I don't lose it, because there's, again, nothing worse than having to go up and then go back down, and you could have sold some here. So just averaging up your overall sales position. I'm still holding 10,000 shares. At this point, I'm ready to see what it does at 0.3, at 30 cents, which is a big psychological number. You can see massive buyers still coming in, 185,000 shares. Bam, uptick, 0.299. 0.299, 991, 993, 997. At this point, it's gonna test 0.30. There it is. What's it gonna do? Is it gonna break it, or is it not gonna break it? That's what I'm looking for here. Is it gonna break it, or is it not gonna break it? You see it start printing, bam, it breaks it. There wasn't even a ton of resistance there, which is what's crazy. I think that's because so many sellers tried to have resistance on the other ones. So look at all these green candles in a row, man. look at all these green candles in a row. I still have my 10,000 shares. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I gotta be selling soon because there are some red candles coming. You don't get 30 green candles in a row. It just doesn't happen. We hit 31. Can it break through 31? Those are some big buyers. Big buyers taken out. You can see barely anything left. Also some sellers coming in though. Can it break 31? That's the question. 142,000 buyer. Now it printed 200,000 again, even when it only had 2,500 there, which means that someone is hiding their size. That's probably someone trying to short 500,000 shares and they don't want to scare the price back down because they want to short from a higher price. You can see it down ticks here. Is it going under 30? Is it going under 30? At this point, I'm like, you know what? This could crack under 30. I'm taking it, taking my profits. And somehow I was able to get filled at 30, even though it cracked directly under, which is crazy, guys. So that time I actually got executed quickly. I guess I did it quickly enough and there were enough buyers that, you know, it is what it is. And I was able to do it quickly. But in this case, it tries to bounce, but it ends up not really. I guess it goes a little bit higher. I'm not sure if that was a misprint, but then it ends up going down. You see, it looked like it could potentially bounce there, but when it ended up not, it cracked through this, you know, at around, I guess, 0.29 area. Once it cracked through there, went down, had a higher low. I mean, a lower high. It had a lower high, and then it broke down here, and then it bounced off this area right here. So potentially, this could be a good place to re-enter. At this point, I'm not sure. It's still intraday. The volume is a lot lower than it was when I was trading it. You can see here. Again, a lot of people knew this was coming and a lot of people dip bought it right here. So it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies because if people know what's gonna happen, you see a stock do this every single day, it becomes very repeatable. So people shorted it open and then they dip buy it once it's done tanking. And the more people that know that and the more people that know to do that, the more it's gonna display kind of those symptoms, those tendencies. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown on this stock. So again, I'm gonna be looking to get this stock once I hear what happens in the call with the CEO tonight, and make sure to watch that video. I'm gonna update you guys on that and tell you guys all about it. And honestly, I'm not sure what to do right now. Might be a good long and cut it, you know, if it drops below 25. But I'm just not sure. I'm a little on the edge at this point, and generally when it's like that, it's better to wait. He could announce that they have some type of massive partnership with MasterCard or something, and it could gap up to 40 cents tomorrow. But I'm just gonna see what it does for now. When I'm making this video, it's still, you know, it's 10:45 Central Time, so it has a lot more that it could do. You know, if it perks back up above this, that would be a good sign. So we'll just see. We'll see what it does, and yeah, hopefully this live video, live analysis of my trade was helpful for you guys, just to kind of understand my thought processes. So yep, look for the video tonight on the call with the investors, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, let's grow better together. Preguntar, bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.